Good evening, good evening, good evening. I am Tamara L, and I am excited to be back to another installation of Just Another Messenger, where we raise the situational urgency and consciousness towards today's current events. Now, we're at a time where we can just no longer ignore, hide, and escape the past, which tells our present circumstances, which predicts our future. Now, therefore, on each episode of Just Another Messenger, we're going to dive deep into the historical past by examining the philosophies, legal systems, as well as the political decisions that continues to influence our daily lives. Now, this episode is unique. As you know, I'm wearing my Disney hat for a reason. Now, what if the magic that you grew up loving was really a spell that you never knew you were under? Now, today we're going to expose the hidden hands shaping Black identity through stories, screens, as well as silent scripts. Now, we're going to welcome you to the episode of Magic Media, as well as Mental Chains, where magic built the dreams, media fed the myths, and mental chains sealed the faith. Now, join the conversation that matters. And don't forget to go over on YouTube. If you're over on our Facebook page, go over on YouTube and subscribe, share, and like, and to be a part of more of the thought-provoking conversations. You wouldn't want to miss this. Also, we would like to have some information we'd like to put up here. We would like for you to also join us on our other platforms. Join us on X at jam_404 podcast. And we would like to thank all our supporters in advance for continue to keep us alive as we continue to grow. We have many additional information that's coming forth. I'm very excited about the what's being created behind the scenes. So we're not monetizing on YouTube and do not have any plans on monetizing on YouTube in the near future, even when our numbers present itself to be there to do so. So continue to support us via our Cash App at $ at Just Another Messenger. Now, if you or someone you know would like to be a part of the conversation, please send us an email. There you go, right there on our screen at Just Another Messenger podcast at gmail.com. We have a lot to unpack here, and we're excited to do so. Before we do that, let's just go ahead and take a little break before we get started on that. All right, we're back here. Let me see who we have in the building. Yes, we have Amber Levitt. Yes, that is my relative, my kin folks. Good evening, cuz. Thank you for tuning in. All right. Malik Day, you was the first one. Thank you very much. A great supporter of Just Another Messenger, as well as thank you for supporting me as well along my journey. Drop the link for your book. Let me tell you about that. Let me tell you, I had to fire when I got back. I had to fire my editor because I wasn't satisfied with the information that he presented to me when I got back from vacation. So I had to release him from his duties, and I have another person that's working on the format. So it's still we're still working. So I don't want to put the link out there and do any pre-orders. So as soon as I get to a comfortable space where things are moving in the proper direction, I'll provide the link to the book, Sacred Selfishness, and I'll talk about that at the end of the show as well. All right, but thank you very much for your support as well. Yeah, we have Greg Green. Thank you for sharing this. I'm telling you, I'm so excited about presenting this. As you can see here, I have my Mickey hat. This is my second set of Mickey ears that I have. So I'm gonna show you why I'm wearing my Mickey ears today. Thank you, Dorita. Good evening. Good evening to you, Dorinthia from Denmark. All right. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for tuning in this evening. I am so excited. Now, I know it's been 2 weeks since I've been gone for before we aired, before I went on vacation to Disney's. As you can see, I'm wearing my second set of Mickey ears, and we're going to get into that. And I had so much to discuss about my experience, because when I go places, everyone know when I travel, it's not a vacation. It's really a missionary and excursion. I'm always looking at things behind the veil. So I had so much that I was able to see to kind of, yeah. And tonight's episode just happened to pull everything all together. So let's get into that right here. Let's get into that information. First, we're going to start off with our disclaimer. The views, opinions, and thoughts are the protective expression of Tamara L. for storytelling and the educational purposes, and does not provide statutory counseling for any United States color of law jurisdictional proceedings. All right, now what is going on around the world? Let's see what is going on around the world here. I know there's been so much going on around the world, but let's talk about it. Let me get this over out the screen so you can really see here. Now, I know the last time before I left, Pope Francis, he had transitioned and he was laid to rest. Now, as you can see, the cardinals are held up in the conclave for the installation of a new pope. Now, I'm not surprised by the news, because several months back on Prime, they had refeatured the movie Conclave. And I kind of saw it coming. Now, if you're able to see things, because signs and symbols are for the conscious mind. So if you're able to see these things, I kind of saw it coming, his transition of coming, because as the shadow workers, they must prepare the masses for the process. Now, it seemed to work very well of refeaturing the conclave on Prime, because their viewership rose dramatically right after the death of Pope Francis. But however, we're not going to get into that. We're going to continue with the today's events and in the connection to that. But that still was a part of the colonization and mental manipulation that goes on. Well, we're going to continue on with Project Colonization 25 as it continues, as the United States has launched a campaign through the aid of General Michael Langley. However, now we know that Mr. Ibrahim Toure, he's not going down without a fight. Now, Burkina Faso, under leadership of Ibrahim Toure, he's standing very strong against imperialism in the West. And let's see how he's handling. I think he's doing a great job with that.
They know where the country is. They know where we're heading.
Excellence in certain circles. There was even talk of a power vacation, and that within the army, there would be negotiations to appoint your successor. Have you been informed of these so-called negotiations?
If it's vacant, let them come and take it. He felt me, since they said we had to go to Niger, right? They just have to come and take it. What were they doing over there? They just have to come themselves and take it. They didn't understand anything, actually. But understand them. If they were paid and didn't achieve their goal, they have to lie to justify what they're doing. And it's not just them. You see the Jibrils, Basolet, and others, they wander around the world. They lie. They collaborate with terrorists to kill Burkinabés, thinking they can change things. That's over. People have understood. So maybe tell them if it's vacant, they just have to come. They come to take. These people have nothing. They have no children. They have nothing in the army. And it's you who sit over there, trying to manipulate other people's children, hoping to do what you want. Are they smart? That's an insult. It's an insult even to the Burkinabe people, to treat them like children, telling nonsense and believing that people will swallow it. No, people are smart. It's no longer the years when people can see information like that and then jump on it and everything. But remember that they have several objectives. It's chaos. It's, you see, destabilizing Burkina because our course of action doesn't please them. And that reassures us. It reassures us. It makes us want to move towards the goal we have set for ourselves. So don't worry about that, actually.
Now, he said, don't worry about that. There's so much more going on around the world. Howard, we want to show a current trend of the territorial jurisdiction in relation to word magic, media manipulation, as well as the mental chains being broken in the East, which now leads to a movement from colonial oppression. As Captain Ibrahim Traore said, if they want it, they have to come and take it. He's not playing with them. Now, from the plantation to the projection screen, this mental change, they were forged from fantasy and fear. Now, today we're going to shatter this illusion. Now, this is the magic media and the middle medium change that we're going to talk about here. And let's look at this quote from Philip K. Dick. All right, we're going to look at this quote from him. This is a very good quote. It say the basic tool for the manipulation of the reality is the manipulation of words. If you can control the meaning of the words, you can control the people who must use the words. Now I'm going to show you the importance of Mr. Philip K. Dick. I'm going to show you the importance because he was quite involved regarding the manipulation of words and the control of media. And you'll know who he is once I show you this. This is Philip K. Dick. He was an American science fiction author, best known for his visionary and mind-bending stories that explore the nature of reality, identity, consciousness, and authoritarian control. He is regarded as one of the most influential science fiction writers of the 20th century. Now let's look at some of his work. His works is inspired by numerous films and TV shows, such as The Blade Runner, Total Recall. And I know when I'm saying it jumps out, you're familiar with these movies. Minority Report, A Scanner Darkly. That's an older movie, like from the 1970s. And then you got The Adjustment Bureau, and then you have The High Man in the High Castle. Now, if you go look at the Man in the High Castle, that movie is quite interesting. It talks about really another nation taking over the United States and how the United States will be split between the West being owned by China and a portion of the United States being controlled by Russia and a part of the United States being controlled by France. If you go look at that movie, the Man in the High Castle, it shows how United States will be overthrown by other nations. So I thought this was interesting to bring out because he is one of the, like I said, one of the most forerunners of this manipulation of the mind. As I said, now let's get down the rabbit hole a little bit more and analyze the imagery presented by Philip K. Dick. Now, like I said, remember that the signs and symbols are for the conscious mind, and we're going to look at the central portrait we have here of Mr. Philip K. Dick with the third eye. Now, as you know, that third eye represents a symbol of enlightenment, altered consciousness, or higher perception, represents Dick's mystical vision. Now, which, as you can see, you have to have a vision to create such body of work, such as Blade Runner, Total Recall. Now, look at the floating pills. You have the red pills and the blue pill, which represents his personal struggle with mental health. And so sometimes with mental health, it brings out different creative aspects of the mind, and it symbolizes the mind altering experience, such as which is heavily featured in the movie A Scanner Darkly. So, and then we'll look at the typewriter, and it's a classic symbol of him being a writer. And the blue cat, I thought the blue cat just stood out the most with me. It represents his love for the cats. However, the strange color in the floating posture, it suggests a skewed reality here. Now, normal things shown in abnormal ways. This is much like fiction, like what you see with the Amagami unicorn. Now, that is in a direct reflection to the movie Blade Runner. Now, and it's based on like, do androids dream of electric sheep? Now, if you look at Blade Runner, it's going to make sense again when you go back and look at that body of work. Now, the all-seeing eye in the pyramid, it echoes conspiracy, surveillance, as well as secret knowledge, which is the information that Mr. Philip K. Dick portrays out in his different movies for people to be able to capture and see and understand what's going on behind the veil. And it suggests his belief that hidden forces manipulate reality, even though he was a part of that hidden force. But just like sometimes you have to be the spook that's set in the corner to be able to deliver the truth. Remember, we are in an empire where, the truth is like treason in an empire full of lies. So you have to find creative ways to bring about this truth. And unfortunately, it's taken people a long time to be able to unfold the layers of truth because they see the entertainment. But it's time for people to start looking past the veil to be able to see the truth, the message that is being delivered. All right. Now look at the record with the UN emblem on there. I mean, it's just, it starts out. You see the record. Now I love my vinyls now. I became a vinyl girl recently. As you can see in there, the UN emblem, it just, it alludes to Dick's mistrust of large institution and his fear of cultural control or theocratic movements that we see are taking place as we speak now, where you have a technocratic movement taking place where everything trying to go to AI and technology. Now, in basically overall, these images, they're masterly fusing symbolism that Philip Dick life, philosophy, and fiction in a single surrealist portrait, and he's capturing the paranormal, the metaphysics, the drug culture, as well as the brilliance of his work to unlock the people to see what's behind the veil. Now, as we move forward, we're going to talk about a book that I broadcasted in part 2, right? In part 2 of the Jekyl's Fall, I highlighted this book called The Master Switch as it details the evolution of communication and its direction for advanced mental manipulation. Now, let's see what Tim Wu states about communication. He said, it is an under acknowledged truism that just as you are what you eat, how and what you think depends on what information you are exposed to. How do you hear the voice of political leaders? Whose pain do you feel? And where do your aspirations, your dreams of good living, where do they come from? All of these are products of the information environment. Now, the cautionary tale of this is out without falling into alarmism, right? Wu warns us of deeper consequences of allowing a few entities to control the pipeline of thoughts. And let's just look at one chapter in particular, right? In this particular chapter, chapter 17, and it's funny because I was reading this book before I went on vacation. And when I come back, I get to chapter 17 and start talking about Disney. It's all hook, line, sink, all connected together. Chapter 17 talks about mass production of the spirit. In chapter 17, read mass production of the spirit. Tim Wu pivots towards a deeply philosophical reflection of how mass communication technologies have not merely shaped economies and industries, but have fundamentally altered the human spirit itself. We're going to make this connection between the magic, the media, and the mental chains. He said that Wu asserts that the rise of centralized mass media from radio to television to telecommunication, and now social media, has led to the mass production of culture, ideas, and even individual thought patterns. Now, this is what has led to what is called the media conglomerate. Now, what is a conglomerate? Let's look at this. We going down this rabbit hole. A conglomerate is the dominant organizational form for information industry of the late 20th and early 20th centuries here and abroad, and it is inseparable from the production of the lion's share of culture. And let's see who hold this lion's share of culture of mass information dissemination. Bam, Disney. Mm-hmm. You see it. You see it. Disney. Disney holds the largest lion share of mass media dissemination. They hold $17.2 billion in conglomeration of mass media being disseminated out into the society. Yeah, I'm gonna let you sit with that for a minute before we go further. We're gonna sit with that for just a hot second. We're gonna sit with that. And why we're gonna sit with that? Now let's look at that. Let's look at Disney, 17.2. They own, let's look at the top. Now this is dealing with, now you see how Mr. Shannon Sharpe was a part of this organization. He worked for ESPN. He has a contract with ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN Classic. You have ABC under the Disney umbrella. All right. You have ABC Family. You have ABC News, ABC Daytime, ABC Entertainment. So these are the mass media that goes out to the different people, right? That's the mass media that goes out. Now let's look at the making of Disney. Let's look at the making of Disney. Let's look at that. Walt's roots is in, let's look at the rise of the largest media and entertainment conglomerate. Let's look at Walt Disney. Walt's roots started in Kansas City, went to Hollywood, and founding of the Walt Disney Studios in 1923. In 1923, the business wasn't doing so well. Struggled from its onset until 1941. After the attack of Pearl Harbor, Disney Studios was taken over by the U.S. military. Tamara, are you trying to tell me that this is a government company? I sure did. I just told you that. After the attack of Pearl Harbor, Disney Studios was taken over by the U.S. military. Over 90% of Disney's production during World War II was war propaganda or government training films. In 1943, during World War II, Disney Studios produced numerous anti-Nazi propaganda films at the request of the U.S. government. Walt Disney was also a confidential informant for the FBI, collaborating with J. Edgar Hoover during the Red Scare era. You remember the Red Scare era in during the Red Scare era? The Red Scare era dealt with the communist socialism, being afraid of Russia, the invasion of Russia. That was the Red Scare era. Walt Disney, he collaborated with the propaganda campaign for the Red Scare to the people in the United States. He was known for the anti-communist stance and helped identify suspected subversions in Hollywood. Now, after the war, Disney pivoted from animator to an empire builder. And this is where a conglomerate is being born, where they created theme parks, TV programming, such as storytelling. They became the storytelling monopoly of the corporation, as well as merchandising. Now, what does it all mean? What does all this mean? From anti-Nazi propaganda partner to global cultural hegemony, Disney sided with America's image propaganda machine, which is the United States government. And today, it is arguably the most powerful soft power media entity on the planet, more than any company. It's a psychological experience. So the magic is not at the Disney part. The magic was always a strategy. It was always strategic. It was always strategic. And that's the real Disney story most people never see. They never see the strategic story behind the magic of Disney. They never see it as a propaganda machine. And as we look at that, we're going to look at the rise of Shannon Sharpe from gridiron glory to media mogul. Now, as we move from that magic, we'll make the correlation of media manipulation in connection with today's media scandal with Shannon Sharpe. I mean, he went from breaking records on the field to breaking barriers in the media world. Shannon Sharpe, he started redefining what it means to be a modern media conglomerate and icon. He was doing things that most people of his level had not done or haven't done in a while unless it was corporation. Shannon Sharpe isn't just playing the game anymore. He was owning a team. He was creating a team. He was producing shows, not one show, several shows, and he was starting to change the rules. What does that mean? Let's look at that. Let's look at the rise of Shannon Sharpe's media and entertainment conglomerate in the making. Now, I showed you did the same line of Disney. Now we're going to look at the rise of Shannon Sharpe's media entertainment conglomerate. Let's look at it. He played football at Savannah State University, which is a small historical Black university college. Then he was drafted in 1990, which he was the 7th round by the Denver Broncos. Now he's also received a lot of accolades and reward for his selections, such as 8-time Pro Bowl selection, 3-time Super Bowl champion, 2 times with the Broncos, 1 time with the Ravens. He was an NFL 1990s All-Decade Team and also inducted into the Pro Bowl Hall of Fame in 2011. It takes discipline to start moving like this. This is not done by being lazy. This is not done without calculated thought. And after his post-retirement from 2023 to 2010, he began a TV career. He began his TV career at CBS Sports as an NFL analysis for the NFL Today. Now, starting in 2016 to 2013, Shannon Sharpe started rising to his medium stardom, where he started co-hosting Undisputed alongside Skip Bayless on FS1. And then he launched Club Shay Shay podcast, which that podcast brought on the likes of many entertainers from the Hollywood sector. And what in one of his shows, which Cat Williams produced the highest grossing podcast show as of today. That is huge. Shannon also from 2023 to right now, his business and brand building consists of signed contract deals. Put a pin in that. Where he was with ESPN First Take with Stephen A. Smith. He monetized not only Club Shay Shay on YouTube, he's also monetizing Nightcap with former football player Ocho Cinco, as well as many other Spotify and Apple products. Now check out, he also had merchandising, which is Shay Shay merch, La Portier liquor, and a fitness line that was in the planning stage. This is what you call a conglomerate. When you have many of different brand products out in pushing in the market, because the information market sometimes has its hits and miss. So when it has its miss, you have the other brands that can handle the downfall of when the information brand take a loss. You have those other products that can handle that loss. All right. Now, with all that being said, we have to look at this. We have to show now, in just recently in April of 2025. Now, this is just recently. We're still right now in April. This just happened recently, just this month. Just this month, a civil lawsuit was filed against Shannon Sharpe in Nevada by a woman identified as Jane Doe, but everyone knows her name as of now. You know, I'm not going to focus. This show is not here to focus on what is going on between that relationship. These are 2 consenting adults that's taking place. Magic, the media, and mental manipulation and mental chains, it's to unpack. We are going behind the veil of this. So this plaintiff alleges that during a nearly 2-year relationship, Shannon Sharpe sexually assaulted her on 2 occasions. One time in October 24th and one time in January 25. Now I have my personal thought process on that, but I'm going to keep it to myself because, you know, it's my personal thought process. And he also engaged in a pattern of manipulation, threats, and unauthorized recording of their intimate encounters. Now, this lawsuit, this young lady is seeking about a $50 million in damages. Okay. She's seeking to receive that in damages. Now, like I said, we're not going to get into the weeds regarding the case between two consenting adults. Now, let's just look at a video highlighting the mindset surrounding the accusations in a relationship to the public discourse. Let's just get into the mindset of that, okay?
Is the older women trying to shame older men into picking them? Because see, that's the competition. Well, older women ain't the competition with older women. It's them young ones.
Right.
It's them young ones that's coming.
Yes,
that'll do what you want.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody gonna tell me I've been dependent. I pay my bills. Right. I pay the cost to be the boss. You the boss by yourself.
Now, this video, that video right there, and numerous others regarding Cat Williams and Monique are being used as evidence of public opinion and persecution, right? Now, there were even recent headlines stating that former employees at ESPN has threatened to leave their job if Shannon wasn't dealt with. Now, that's just like when Hillary Clinton said, oh, we're going to bring them to heel. That's that mindset. That's the kind, that's just kind of a stretch in my opinion, because what another does in private, let's be real about that. It does not dictate anyone's else's work life. That's a Shannon's problem. Shannon is dealing with Shannon's problem, right? But Shannon also had a responsibility as a business brand, and in corporate America, there's a rule, there's a law, do no harm to your customer base. And we have to look at what harm has taken place to the base of his customers. So that's another thing to unpack. Now, whether these allegations are true or not is now entered into the wrap-up smear campaign. And we're going to look at that. It's entered into that phase of the wrap-up smear campaign. And what does that look like? All right. What does that wrap-up smear campaign look like here? Now, we talked about the wrap-up smear campaign where the objective content and platforms are all funneled into. It's all funneled into the funnel. It all goes in the funnel, no matter whether it's true or false. Keep in mind that Mr. Shannon Sharpe has not been taken to trial. They said this is not a criminal case. This is a civil case. However, civilly can also open the door for criminal persecution. It depends on what's being said civilly. All right. So in the wrap-up smear campaign, we talked about this. We talked about where it create a false narrative. It's where a political group or individual fabricates a false story or misleading claim about a target, often an opponent. Why is now Jane Doe an opponent of Mr. Shannon Sharpe? Because they both said it was consenting. They both said there was a relationship. That's getting behind the weeds now of mentally on both sides. What now created oppositions between the two? But however, when that opposition occurred, it now gives the media now gives the media the ability to amplify it and create merchandise. And a lot of people are getting likes and clicks from this information coming out. It's being played out in the court of public opinion. Now, the false narrative is pushed to these friendly outlets, friendly or unfriendly. Like, I'm pretty sure when people start amassing certain type of financing, they create, and they started peacocking and poking their chests out, they create some enemies along the way out there, right? And it's giving it the appearance of legitimacy. It gives the appearance of legitimacy. And once it's reported, it gains its own mainstream credibility despite the origins of it and despite if it's true or not. Plenty of times there's information that has come out about someone they have had to fight in the court of public opinion, and then they win in the court of law. But however, their reputation is still damaged, and that damage control sometimes take years. We're going to take, for instance, Michael Jackson. We're going to take Chris Brown. We can take a lot of others that have lost in the court of public opinion, but won in the court of law. And this creates the weaponization. The creators of the smear then cite the media coverage as proof. See, it's being said in social media, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all the likes, mainstream media is everywhere. It's like a chirping mockingbird, it's just chirping everywhere. And it's used to discredit, attack, and politically weaken, because this is political. Because anything that is commerce is political. So this is politically weakening Shannon Sharpe's brand, which is the target. Now, the public perception is, once the lie is embedded into the public discourse, it becomes the truth no matter what the facts say. And even though Mr. Sharpe made a move and attempted to put a lot of the truth into the face of public opinion, he made one of the grave mistakes. He should have pleaded the fifth. Because the public until he can get into the space of public law, and then once all the unveiling take place, it'll be more of a soft hit to recover from the brand after. Right now, he's still fighting both the court of public opinion and awaiting the court of law. All right. Now, from the magic of the propaganda to the media manipulation, now this really shows how we're going to dive into the middle chains within the society through the Willie Lynch syndrome. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into that. Whether myth or fiction, whether this is myth or fiction, the power of the idea is undeniable. And we're going to look at that in that way. Yeah, that's right. Damage control. Damage control is not just about fixing what went wrong. It's about rebuilding trust and restoring confidence. Absolutely correct. That's a hard battle. I've been trying to attempt to reach Senator Warnock for over a year, because I've written a bill for proposal, and I know that Senator Ossoff. Now I'm in Georgia. So that's the senators, that Senator Ossoff and Senator Warnock. They're the two senators in Georgia, right? And I've been trying to reach Senator Warnock for a year, because I have a bill, and the bill is about collateral consequences. And I named this, I know it's weird. I'm weird. I named this bill SUCCA, SUCCA. Stop the utilization of collateral consequences on Americans. Tamara, why SUCCA? Well, because what happens is that we talk about the court of public opinions, and we talk about the court of law. And a lot of times when people are receive a strike, a felonious strike for a non-violent crime that are committed in this society, not only do they have to deal with the penalties and fines or possibly incarceration on the side of the court of law, but now you just say if you had did the time physically and you come out, and you've also done the time without incarceration, and you but you just had a fine, but you have this felonious mark on what you call your record, your corporate record, right? And that corporate record is attached to the natural person. So when someone go look for housing, they go look for jobs, they fill out an application to be able to carry a gun for their protection. They're trying to acquire certain licensing, so it stops them from certain industries, job industries and everything. Now you become persecuted in society. You did your time based off the court. You fulfilled your obligation, but now you have a lifelong battle in society. So that's why I wrote the bill called Sucker, to stop the utilization of collateral consequences. Once you have satisfied your time through the court, you shouldn't have to continue. If you have rebuilt your life and you want to, you understood your consequences and you are becoming you're aware the mental manipulation of low vibrational activities that you once done in the past, you no longer subscribe to them anymore, and you're vibrating on a more better frequency to be more connected and to be more benevolent, to help others as well as help yourself. Help me help you. You should not be receiving the infraction within society for the rest of your life to be able to raise up and be a part of society and be held back and bound from that. So that's where we talk about the Willie Lynch syndrome. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the Willie Lynch. Let's talk about the foundation of lynching. Now, this is where this foundation of lynching did not start from a man by the name of Willie Lynch. Like I said, whether you deemed it as myth or fact, it's a myth based off my research. It's a myth. But however, the power of the idea has still been undeniable. And we're going to frame this psychological and cultural fractures as a form of long-term enchantment or curses. Let's say word magic. Let's say this has been a word. That Willie Lynch letter became a word magic, right? Which is like a dark ritual of control bent to persist for centuries. And if you read the letter, it states that that word magic wanted to go on for 300 years. So it took on a life of its own. But the foundation of lynching started in the area called stenery. Usually stenery, plural, steneries, it was the name of a district of 10 mines and smelting works in Cornwall and Devon in the mid 1500s. Ultimately from late Latin, stenum, 10. Now, as the industry was important and had its own ancient customs, the steneries were under jurisdiction of a special court called a court of stenery. So by the 1460s, which were notorious for irregular summary proceedings. Now, the courts and the jail for it in Dunvin were at Linford. It was in Linford. So the foundation of lynching actually comes from Linford law, which is to hang a man first and then indict them afterwards. That's where it comes from. It doesn't come from Willie Lynch. It comes from the Linford law, which is to hang a man first and then indict them afterwards. Let's look at this. Let's look at this spell, right? Now, if we look at the difference of the Willie Lynch speech, this Willie Lynch speech, it was not really, it did not come out at all. The speech was in the late 1930s through an online listing of sources. And it was posted by this lady named Ann Taylor, who was then a reference librarian at the University of Missouri at St. Louis. All right. Now, the Lynch letter, it was distributed in the Black community in 1993 and 1992. What happened in 1993 and 1992? Well, I'll tell you, I'm going to speed this thing up. In 1992, President Bill Clinton came into office. We got to look at these middle chains. President Bill Clinton came into office. President Bill Clinton and his wife, Hillary Clinton, they went on a Bring Them to Heel campaign. In 1996, they wrote one of the worst laws that has incarcerated more Black people as of today than most countries have in their population. This letter created the mindset, and we're going to get into that mindset. The Lynch speech was popularized at the Million Man March that was held in Washington, D.C. on October the 16th, 1995, when it was referred to by Minister Louis Farrakhan. Now, I wish Minister Louis Farrakhan would have did more due diligence on this letter before he put that spell out there even more, because this was a spell casting letter. And the 1995 Million Man March was broadcast live on C-SPAN. Who did I say on C-SPAN? Disney. And thus millions of people throughout the U.S. and the world heard about the alleged Willie Lynch speech for the first time. Now, this is the danger of widespread broadcasting information without verification of validity, which continues to go on today on social media platform. That's the part of the wrap-up smear campaign. And the Willie Lynch speech is not mentioned by any 18th or 19th century slave masters or anti-slavery activists. There's a large body of written materials from the slavery era, yet there is not one reference to a Willie Lynch speech given in 1712. Yeah. The Willie Lynch syndrome teaches us that division and manipulation can persist across generations. It's doing it. It's doing its work. Magic, media, and mental chains. Now let's look at that. Let's look at those divisions. On the Lynch speech: age, historical facts, age, ethnic origin and language, DEI, codified. Color, light versus dark skin, Willie Lynch speak. Historical facts, African born versus American born. Lynch speech dealt with intelligence. Historical facts, house nigger or field nigger, still nigger. Lynch speech, fine hair versus coarse hair. Reward system for good behavior. He like white girls, snow bunnies. He is a bunny hopper. So when he get in trouble, we're going to crucify him because he's a bunny hopper. The manipulation of Willie Lynch syndrome. Tall versus dark. Class status. Oh, he tall, dark, and handsome. He's a high-value man. She's a boss chick. Male versus female. Gender wars. Outdated social gatherings. But look how long it said the goal was for a method of control will work for at least 300 years. Like I said, psychological and cultural fractures as a form of long-term enchantment or curse, word magic, which is a dark ritual of control meant to persist for centuries. The Willie Lynch letter put in a spell for it to go on for 300 years. So if you add 1712, you add 300 to that, that spell was supposed to last for 2012. What happened in 2012? That was the resetting period of the Olmec's calendar. We have to understand the manipulation that's taking place. We have to get back to our ancestral roots in order to see these things unfolding. Now, many people who embrace the Willie Lynch myth have not studied the period of slavery and have not read the major works or firsthand documents on the issue of African American slavery. Now let's look at Frederick Douglass for instance. He wrote in his autobiography, Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, that one of the most diabolical tactics of the American slaveholders, now this is firsthand encounters, was to force the slave workers during their 6 days off for the Christmas holidays to drink themselves into a drunken stupor and forget about the pain of slavery. So when people are taking off during the holidays, what are most people doing? Drinking, gonna party and BS, drinking, partying. These things are encoded into your DNA, your ancestral DNA. These are ancestral traumas that's already there that get triggered easily. Douglass wrote, it was deemed a disgrace not to get drunk at Christmas, and he was regarded as lazy indeed, who had not provided himself with the necessary means during the year to get whiskey enough to last him through Christmas. From what I know of the effects of these holidays upon the slaves, I believe them to be the most effective means in the hands of the slaveholder in keeping down the spirit of insurrection. You're not trying to overthrow anything when you're drunk. Were the slaveholders at once to abandon this practice, and have not the slightest doubt it will lead to an immediate insurrection among the slaves. The holidays are part and parcel of the gross fraud, wrong, and inhumanity of slavery. That's the Willie Lynch distraction, not knowing the truth. The narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass provided the truth through experience. Who wrote the Lynch letter? Who wrote this Willie Lynch speech? The likely candidate for such an artificial speech is an African American male that was in his 20s and 30s age range, who probably minored in Black studies in college. Unfortunately, he fooled many uncritical Black people that is not thinking. We're too busy partying. Now, the Willie Lynch is not eternal. It's not eternal unless we allow it to be. With intentions, rituals, and truth, we can do what generations were told was impossible through unbinding the Willie Lynch spell. How do you do that? How do you break a spell? Breaking a spell, unbinding it. What does that mean? It's a symbolic action like cutting cords and breaking chains. People talk, oh, Tamara, you talking this hoodoo, what we do. Yeah, you do it. Because when you go to church and you sit on a pew and you raise your hand to the Almighty God and you're going through some affliction, you say, Lord, break every chain. So who do what we do? You breaking these chains. You say break every chain. And this is paralleling to healing generational traumas, repairing relationships. We have a relationship problem in the Black community. And I'm using that word colloquially, Black. But we have Houston, we have a problem. And we must break those chains. Between men and women, dark and light skinned, tall and dark, rich and poor. We must break these chains. Now, the primary way you can break a chain is through primary firsthand research. That's the most effective weapon against the distortion of African history and culture. Primary research training is the best defense against urban legends and modern myths. It is now time for critical thinking to bury the decade-old mythology of William Lynch. It's time to break that chain. Like I said, the Willie Lynch spell, it is not eternal unless we allow it to be. And with these and with great intention, a spiritual ritual, and the truth, we have to stop being liars unto our own selves. We can do what generations were told was impossible. As you see with Captain Ibrahim Traore, there's been a lot of things that not manifested that are made manifest today. We can break the spell. So until next time, I want you to stay woke, stay informed, and stay ready. Also, stay on the lookout for my book launch, Sacred Selfishness, The Art of Loving Without Losing Yourself. Now, are you ready to reclaim your power in love? What if you never had to chase love again? What if you could give love without exhausting yourself? What if putting yourself first actually made your relationships stronger? All your relationships. This book will teach you how to love from abundance, not scarcity, how to prioritize yourself without guilt, and how to deeply love while standing fully in your power. It's time to embrace the most radical act of love, and that is choosing yourself. Now, I will have my link out soon so you can be able to order it. Like I said, I'm back. So I'll have my link out soon, so you'll be able to order it. Like I said, I had to work with another editor formatter because I wasn't pleased with the one who presented the information to me. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Magic, Media, and Mental Chains. I hope that we're going to break every chain. Now, remember, if media can shape your mind, it can also set you free if you control the narrative. Good evening.